Hey, this is Christina. I just made a video a second ago on how I homeschool all 6 of my kids stress-free, and I promised that I would follow up with a video on our schedule. Obviously, having 6 kids is kind of crazy and hectic at sometimes, and so I figured out a way to keep it as stress-free as I possibly can. And believe it or not, that's putting my kids on a pretty tight schedule. And I used to hate schedules. I've never done schedules before. My kids never took naps on schedule. They never ate on schedule. They just kind of like free-for-all all the time. And it was very, very hectic. My life was very spontaneous and it was very stressful. So I've changed all of that since starting to homeschool, and I'm very thankful for being enlightened, and now I see the other side. So we wake up usually around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and then we eat breakfast, and which is amazing considering we used to have to wake up at 6 o'clock to get everybody dressed and out the door for school. So I love that we don't wake up with an alarm. We just wake up when we want to. So we wake up around at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. We get breakfast, and then we usually start school around 10, 10:30, depending on what time it was that we woke up. So when we start school, it takes 2 hours from the time that we start to when we finish. I have my kids in all these different stations. If you go watch my other video, you can learn about how I homeschool, and they're each in a station for a dedicated amount of time, and then we rotate. So when everybody's done with school, usually around 12:30, it's time for lunch. We usually eat lunch at 12:30, and then it's nap time at 1 o'clock. All of my kids from ages 8 down take naps. My 9 and 10-year-old do not. They don't need naps in order to be in a good mood for the rest of the day. If your child's having an attitude problem, I highly suggest 2 things. Number 1, make them take a nap. Number 2, if you have unruly kids, or you're having a really hard time with your kids in public, or your kids are just not obeying, or your kids are ungrateful, get this system. Listen to it. Grooming the Next Generation for Success by Danny Johnson. You can get it on DannyJohnson.com. I get my kids down for naps, and then my older 2 end up reading, typically. That's their option. It's not a free-for-all. It's not let's go watch TV. In fact, we don't have cable television. So my older 2 will read. And in order to keep them motivated with reading, I have implemented a book chart that I love, because I am not a person that believes in entitled little brats thinking that allowance is owed to them. So we don't give an allowance. I've never given allowance. I never got allowance, and I don't believe in allowance. And I was raised by very wealthy individuals who very well could have afforded to give me an allowance. So I believe that everything needs to be earned, and they have to start learning early about money. And if they don't, then they're just going to follow in the ways of the world, and they're going to be sheep like everybody else, and they're going to go do all of these things stupid with money, like borrow a ton, like unfortunately I did. By the way, we just paid off $150,000 in debt in the last 12 months. My husband and I were very excited about that. So we ended up implementing this book chart so that my kids could actually learn about money. They can earn their own money. They can save their own money if they choose to, or they can cash out. And then they also get, the consequences that anybody would for pulling out money instead of letting it gain interest. So right behind me actually is the book chart. It stays on the door, and it works as follows. My oldest 2 daughters are very capable of reading 200 and 300 or 400-page novels. And if they want to read those for pleasure, that's totally fine. I will pay them $1 for every single pleasure book that they read and they finish, and that they can tell me about or write me a book report on. So it's $1 for every single pleasure book. For any book that I pick out, which typically comes off of the Texas Education Requirements website for their grade level or above, I will give them $2.50 for every one that they finish and write me a book report or tell me about. And then there's workbooks. So for all of their curriculum school workbooks, either their Brain Quest book, or I have Sylvan learning books, I have Kumon learning books. For all of those workbooks that they complete, it's $5. And here's the catch. If they want to cash out their money, that's fine. It also costs them money when they don't pick up toys, or when they don't fold their laundry and put it away in time, or things like that. I will take away that $1 or whatever it is for each thing that they do that they don't follow through with, because being lazy and not doing things costs us adults money in the real world. So I want my kids to learn that. On top of that, if they save their money for a certain amount of time, we're going to start with 6 months. If they save their money for 6 months and they don't cash out, or they don't, take any out, whatever money's left in their bank account, I'm going to double it. They're going to earn interest on their money, which is what we do as adults. So I don't know if that would work for you. I happen to love it. I have a 9-year-old daughter who is reading 400 and 500 pages every couple of days, usually every 2 days. She actually read 650 pages in less than 24 hours after we got back from the library the other day, which absolutely blew my mind because I hated reading and I never read my first book until I was 28 years old. So if you have a kid that likes to read, or if you have a kid that just somewhat likes to read, but they're motivated by earning money or maybe winning or having their name put up on a board for recognition, this chart works. I also have it for my younger kids, but obviously I'm not going to require a kindergartner to read a 200-page book to get a dollar mark on the board. He's going to have to read something that's in his, I can read a level 1 book. If he reads one of those, sure, I will put his name on the board for a $1 pleasure book. Or if it's a book that tells like a historic story, that can be a $2.50 book. My 6-year-old son has actually already gone through 3 of his curriculum books. He finished the kindergarten grade in 2.5 months. He just killed it, absolutely killed it. He's very, very smart. So he's already earned $15 on the board just in workbooks alone. So if you have kids that need some kind of incentive to read, I highly, highly, highly suggest doing something like this. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll probably do a couple more here in a few minutes. Have a great day.